What does the hawthorn berry do? The hawthorn berry regulates the heartbeat. So if someone has got heart arrhythmia, the hawthorn berry can help with that. Equalises the heart rate. If the blood pressure's too high, it'll bring it down. If it's too low, it'll bring it up. So he went back to have his assessment and the doctor said, "There's nothing wrong with you, you're going back to work."
In this video, Barbara O'Neill introduces the powerful benefits of hawthorn berry, a natural remedy known for supporting heart health. Heart arrhythmia, high blood pressure, and stress-related heart issues are just a few of the challenges this herb can help address. Throughout the video, Barbara explains how hawthorn berry, along with other remedies like cayenne pepper and magnesium, can naturally strengthen and regulate the heart, even when combined with medications. Stick around to learn how these natural solutions can help you take control of your heart health.
But probably the number one herb for the heart is the hawthorn berry. So where I was in Manchester last week, there's just hedges and hedges of hawthorn berry. Where I was staying, there's lots of canals. Always, wherever I stay, I explore thoroughly the area on my morning walk every day. In Scotland, I think I'd surveyed most of the whole area just by my morning walk. So when I was in Manchester last week, there's lots of hedges that are hawthorn berry. Now in the hawthorn berry, the active components that affect the heart are found in the leaf, in the berry and in the bark. But most commonly, you buy the berry, you buy the dried berry. So when you make and this is what we do, we get the dried berry. We also have, see, a lot of hawthorn berries grown down the bottom of Australia. Remember with Australia, the further down you go, the colder it gets. And I think, 150 years ago, they bought the hawthorn berry for hedges down in Victoria. So it does grow a lot down there. So we've got a friend that gathers a lot of berries and dries them for us. So this is 2 teaspoons. Remember I said the rule of thumb is 1 teaspoon to 1 cup of water? So with the hawthorn berry, you make it a little stronger, and then the person doesn't have to drink quite as much hawthorn berry tea. And we advise approximately 1 litre a day. What does the hawthorn berry do? The hawthorn berry regulates the heartbeat. So if someone has got heart arrhythmia, the hawthorn berry can help with that. We also make the hawthorn berry as a tincture. So to make it as a tincture, you make it very strong. And we find that it's very handy to have the tincture, especially when someone's blood pressure is high because they're stressed out. Sipping on that hawthorn berry tincture has an effect. It's a very, very safe herb. You can even use it in conjunction if the person's still on blood pressure medication. Not a problem at all. There's no contraindications with the hawthorn berry. So with the tincture, and it's a berry. So do you pour boiling water on it or do you boil it, students? Yes, you do. Gentle simmer, 10 minutes. 10 minutes simmer. Because remember, the 3 things, what are the 3 things you simmer? The roots, the berries and the bark. The roots, the berries and the bark have to have a simmer. 10 minutes simmer.
Should you grind it to the berries?
We don't. You could. You could. You probably get it a little bit stronger then. But with the tincture, what I do is I do 2 cups of hawthorn berry and 3 cups of water. And I do a gentle simmer and I get an incredibly strong dark tea. And then I'll put it with equal amounts. Once it's cool, make sure it's cool, strain it, and then you put equal glycerin. And there's your tincture.
You don't ever use alcohol then? Like if it's burned down or cooked so it's not so strong?
So that, and if you have it as a tincture, it's 1 teaspoon 3 times a day.
Also should be, what do you say, same amount as the
Pardon?
the glycerin, should that be the same amount as you have?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
50.
So once you've strained that, you put in equal glycerin. The hawthorn berry equalises the heart rate. If the blood pressure's too high, it'll bring it down. If it's too low, it'll bring it up. Remember Psalm 104 verse 14, that God gave herbs for the service of man? You see what the herbs do? They work with the body. So a lady contacted me recently and she said, Barbara, I'm very worried about the hawthorn berry. She said, because I was on medication and she said, if I didn't take it, she said, I'd go really high. I'm just worried. And I said, you don't have to worry about the hawthorn berry because it works with your body. Now, we had a guy recently who had a stroke. He was with us. He was actually Dave Babongi's twin brother. Remember Dave that had the burnt leg? Aboriginal guy. And he came to us, about 2 years ago now. And he just had a stroke. He was quite large. He was on a lot of medication. He was on statin drugs for cholesterol. He was on blood thinning medication. He was on 2 different types of blood pressure. And he did our program and he learned about the 8 laws of health. And little by little his weight came down. And I said to him, I can't tell you what to do with your medication, Dan. So it's Dave and Dan. But I said, if I were you, I'd stop the cholesterol lowering medication and the blood thinning medication. I said, you can take the cayenne pepper, whereas the cholesterol lowering medication, as long as you keep these laws, these true remedies, you don't need to be on that medication. And he was taking the hawthorn berry. He went back home for about 8 months, and when he came back, he was this trim, muscular guy. He's in his 50s. He looked fantastic. I said, wow, Dan. He said, I'm doing exactly what you say. Exactly. Now, do you remember what I said? People say, how long will it take? I say, well, it all depends on how serious the condition is and how serious you are at implementing this. He said, I'd like to do another program. I said, sure. He did the program. He was still on 1 blood pressure medication. We took his blood pressure, and his blood pressure was 100 over 55. I said, Dan, your blood pressure's getting too low. I said, have you considered stopping your medication? He said, I can't. He said, the doctor says I will die if I don't take it. I said, Dan, this may have been the case 2 years ago when you just had your stroke and you were this big and drinking and smoking and eating badly. But I said, look at you now. I said, your blood pressure's going too low. I said, why don't you stop? We're here. We'll monitor you every day. We're watching you very closely. He said, okay. I took his blood pressure 2 days later, 120 over 70. I said, your blood pressure's perfect, Dan. Oh, he was very, very happy. Now, he went back for his yearly examination because the doctor had deemed him not fit for work. So he went back to have his assessment, and the doctor said, there's nothing wrong with you, you're going back to work. It was an incredible story. In fact, in Australia, we've got a 7-Day Adventist magazine, and it's called Signs of the Times. Well, they did a whole story on him. It was just such an incredible story. But Dan did exactly what we said to do, and he got incredible results. He thought that, he would never be able to work again. But it also shows you how the drugs will take your blood pressure down whether you need it or not. Whereas the hawthorn berry will work with the needs of your body. Same with the cayenne pepper. If you take too much blood thinner, you can bleed, One man said to me, my nose is bleeding. I said, you're on too much blood thinner. So if you start the cayenne pepper while you're on a blood thinner, it really has to be monitored. But you can take a bucket of cayenne pepper a day and you will never bleed from the nose, because the herbs work with the needs of your body. That's the beauty of it. Yes?
Is there any problem in using cayenne pepper and hawthornberry in combination with each other or at the same time?
We advocate that you do,
Okay.
because they do slightly different things. So what the hawthornberry does is it tones and strengthens the heart. So for heart arrhythmia, it tones and strengthens that, and it can get that heart rate back onto a better beat. But then you have to look at why the person has heart arrhythmia or a dysfunctional heart rate. And there are two common reasons for that. And one is caffeine. Caffeine will certainly do that. And so will wheat. If someone has an allergy to wheat, it can disrupt the heart rate. Because remember, the wheat's been changed. The other thing we use with heart is magnesium. So why do we use magnesium? Because magnesium is a muscle relaxant. The heart is a muscle, and magnesium relaxes the heart at rest. And the heart at rest is the bottom reading of the blood pressure. That's what, if you're high when your heart is at rest, that's when it's getting a concern.